welcome to Café Con Leche with
Liz
and Lil. Hi. Hello, beautiful.
Hey, Queen. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling cute today.
You looking gorgeous.
Yes. Thank you. You know, the crown of hair. She's there. She's ready.
Yeah.
It's been a long week. But that's okay because we get to do this.
Yes.
And I get to do this with you.
Yeah.
And that's a highlight of my week.
Come on, highlights. Highlights.
I did actually, I don't know if you probably can't see it, but I put some like shimmery highlight right here. Really to catch the light. That's probably why I'm so shiny over there.
That's why you look even more magnificent.
Oh, thank you. You're so fancy.
I love it.
Today we got some lovely ladies.
Oh my goodness.
Some dear friendships of years and years. You want to tell us who's on the show today?
Yes. And thanks, of course, to, again, the magnificent show, In the Heights. These connections came through to us in our lives over the last 8 to 10 years. We have the magnificent Chanel Bragg and the equally magnificent Alyssa Chiarello.
Yes. I'm so excited.
It's going to be a good one.
I think so, too. You ready?
Ready. Let's do this.
Let's do it.
Woo.
Welcome to Café Con Leche, ladies. Hey! We're so excited to have you. Listen, for all of you viewers, these are some friendships across here that have been around for a very long time. We were just saying, Chanel and I met 10 years ago doing Hairspray. I love her. And Alyssa, 8 years ago, and Alyssa Gomez calls Alyssa Chiarello. Did I? Yes, yeah. I pronounced it right. Calls her Lily. So I think I might call you Lily just to like keep it clear.
I would love that.
Wonderful. So Lily and Alyssa have known each other for 8 years. There's like beautiful, wonderful, long-lasting friendships. Mm-hmm. I love it so much. So yes. We ask all of our people when they come on Café Con Leche, we ask them a number of questions over and over again. But one of the ones is, how do you like your cafe? Do you like it hot? Do you like it sweet? Do you like it cold? Do you not like it in a cup? Would you prefer it as a chocolate-covered bean? What is your preference?
Okay. Now, when I was in college, it was a chocolate-covered bean, just straight up like that. But now that I'm older, I think, I don't know, I like it warm. It's something about warm coffee that like fills your chest up, gives you the sensations. And I like hazelnut. So just straight up coffee with some hazelnut pumps and I'm good. A little bit of almond milk.
Ooh, okay.
Chilling.
Nutty.
Yes.
Lily, what about you?
I like it hot or iced, especially being in Arizona when it is so hot. It's nice to have coffee.
Yes.
I don't like it too sweet. I like it pretty dark. So like right now I have like my iced coffee and no cream in there at all.
Love it. Nice and strong. Like the females that we is.
Hey. That's when you know you're friends with someone, because I could have told you what Lily's coffee drink was.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, straight up or Americano.
I love it. Yes, come on, Americano. We'll come back to that.
So you ladies are coming to us from Arizona, both of you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Cool. And both of you were in the Phoenix Theater production of In the Heights.
Yay!
Yes.
Yes.
If I'm getting my facts incorrect, please just be like, definitely not. No, that is not the case.
No. No, we were in it together, and it was one of my favorite experiences I've ever had in my life. And I just want to put it out there that it's not lost on me the absolute honor that it was to portray Carla, because I do think that it's really important that stories are told correctly. And so I'm very honored that I was given that privilege. But trust and know that I understand that I was in a very lucky situation. And I really want to make sure that moving forward, I help continuing to push how important it is to cast authentically and correctly.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that I said that, because that is really important to me.
Mama, we were so lucky to have you, in our production of In the Heights. Yeah.
I love you, baby.
Chanel and I, like, we knew of each other, but we had never actually met. In the first day of rehearsal, she comes running over, gives me a bigger tug, like we were like reuniting when we were actually first officially meeting. And then like it was just like we were connected.
You know, she's my sister for real, y'all. Like for real. Which is why I love the history of years here and how connected we all are. By knowing, like, I had an individual relationship with Lily, you know what I'm saying? But then I having an individual relationship with Alyssa. And then I got to, Lily, now we're saying Lily. And then for you, Alyssa, I got to meet you when you were here in Phoenix. And so it's like, oh my God. So now I feel like, and then of course, Lily has talked about you for years. So that I was like able to like connect all these dots. And it's just amazing to have this like sisterhood, this like dope sisterhood of women that support each other and lift each other up. That's all I'm about these days. And if my relationships don't show that, then I'm not in those relationships anymore.
You're like, I feel like that happened to me big time in my 30s. I just was like, you know what? I got to start trimming the fat here. There are people who are not my actual friends, or like who I'm investing a lot of time into, who are not willing to invest that time. And you just got to kind of trim that fat and just be like, it's not that I don't like you. You know what I mean? It's maybe you're a nice person, maybe, but we're not there for, do you know what I mean? Like, you're not there for me, I'm not there for you. That's fine.
But that's wisdom. That's wisdom, right? Like, does this relationship still serve you? Or doesn't? I do believe that everyone comes into your life for seasons, right? I've been so lucky that you beautiful ladies have been through all my seasons. You know what I'm saying? But like sometimes other people are only supposed to be in one contract with you. Or only supposed to be one boyfriend for 6 months of time. And I think that we need to find and glean the lessons from those interactions and then let them go with love in our heart. Good day to you and good luck to you in your endeavors. But I learned what I needed from the situation. And now I must move on as I continue to grow. So yeah, the 30s, same. I'm almost 40.
Me too!
Whoop! Hey! We look good. Look at that.
Actually, I was putting on makeup this morning because the last time we did it, I didn't have any makeup on because I was like, I give no fucks today. I was like, you know what? I got my ladies there. I'm going to put on a face for them. And I was putting it on. I was like, actually, the makeup ages me to my actual age a little more. Whereas when I'm fresh faced, they're like, look at that baby.
You seriously will look 16 for the rest of your life, girl.
I know. I mean, I played a teenager. What is it? 2019. Last year? Yes, last year I played an 18-year-old on stage. With HD, that does not happen on film. But you pull me about.
That's one of the beautiful things about theater.
15 feet away, and they're like, look at that tiny baby.
Oh, I love that so much. What's your skincare regimen?
Girl, I ain't got no skin. Soap, water.
Right. Right.
No, I was gonna say, speaking of being a teenager, I think I've said this on this podcast, or I might have said it in an interview I did last week. Hairspray is something that lives near and dear to my heart, and that's how Chanel and I met. But that is the show that I'm like, that is not my story to tell. I shouldn't have taken it, but I didn't know any better then. I'm a Puerto Rican girl that belongs to a sweet, plump Jewish girl. I did it multiple times, and you live and you learn, and like, it was a dream role for me, and I'm so grateful that I got to do it, but I was lucky that I got to do it, and I got in to a job that wasn't for me. And that's even playing 18-year-olds now, that's not ever going to happen again. Not because of anything other than me learning. You learn and you go, oh yeah, I shouldn't have done that. And we have to allow for growth and change. And because if we don't, how are things going to change? If we force people to live in the guilt of their mistakes for the rest of their lives and don't give them a chance to grow, how everything's going to change. I think I worded that the way I wanted to.
Yeah, I love that though. And I think that's 100% real though. It was a good girlfriend of mine named Osiris who sat me down and she was just like, hey sis, let me tell you how you made me feel. And I appreciate, and I was welcome. I was welcome to the criticism, because a real friend's gonna tell you what's up. Like, you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna apologize. I loved playing Carla. And I also appreciated that I got to represent the African part of her too. So that aside, I'm grateful that I got to also, what's up, Dominicans, you know what I'm saying, and Cubans and Chileans that are dark. And that's important. And so, and in Arizona, I mean, not to make excuses, there's just there's no representation, which is awful. We need to do better, Phoenix. And so for me, I took great honor, and I was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, then I have to do it with the respect. But after my conversation with my girlfriend Osiris, that gave me clarification of how she felt about it. And I was like, thank you for not being afraid to come to me and say, this is how this made me feel. And then can we talk about it? So from that conversation, though, a lovely thing happened. I started a diversity group. That diversity group was to help all people by POC. From that conversation, and then it made me say, okay, right then and there, I want to make a definitive stance that I want authentic casting across the board. Anywhere that I can be influencing that, I want to be 100% about that life. And so I created United Colors of Arizona Theater. We have 327 members now. We just had a town hall last week where all these artistic directors and associate artistic directors got on a town hall and had to address racism in theater, because it's real. And if she didn't have that conversation with me hiking on South Mountain, didn't have the courage to talk to me about that, who knows where we would be? And I'm so grateful. So yes, like I said, paying homage to the character was one of my favorite things I've ever done in my life. Will I do it again? No. But I was so grateful to do it when I did, and I cherish those memories. And yeah, I'll forever hold that to my heart.
I wanted to comment about Chanel talking about being Carla. It's so interesting. And I, of course, like we all have our experiences playing other ethnicities, which is, I think, very interesting, or might even be a more complicated thing to talk about as women of color. You know what I mean? Especially think Cameo by Gemma. That was that figure coming in. I have opinions as well. I mean, I was a swing on Motown, and I played both white and Black characters, you know? And that I struggled with that as well. Even in accepting the contract through rehearsals, I for a few reasons, I tried to quit before rehearsals were even over. Identity, figuring things out, but you bring up an interesting point and an important point about African culture in Latin culture. Afro-Latinas, that they exist. You know what I mean? And I feel like, especially in the media, and on the Latin side as well, you know, there being colorism and everything, it is very easy for people to ignore the fact that we do come in all shapes, sizes, and colors, and that is part of our genetic makeup, you know? Indigenous, Taino, multiple indigenous peoples, depending on what island or what region of the world and country you're from, Spanish, French, there's Filipino influence, you know what I mean? And of course, there's African influence. And although I honor and respect you saying, wanting to hand it off and cast appropriately, I actually really enjoy the fact that you got to embrace Carla, because Carla is Chile Dominican Rican, you know what I mean? And for me, I think that getting to see someone who is not just Café Con Leche color and lighter is so powerful.
Absolutely.
But I do also understand the idea of like not feeling maybe 100% connected to Latin culture, if it's not part of your upbringing and whatnot. But I do want you to know that I would have loved to see your Carla, and what you brought to it. And I would have loved to see the faces of lots of little brown and black girls and boys as they watched you play Carla. Because I think that's a really important part of our Latin heritage that is sometimes brushed over, even by Latinos themselves, and it's not okay, you know? So I just want you to know that it makes me extremely happy, and I'm honored as well. Even though I wasn't part of that production, I am honored as part of the In the Heights Familia to know that you were part of that family and you got to embrace and play Carla and put your story out there as well.
Thank you for that. That's so sweet.
And I know not every Latino, not every, Latina person shares the same opinion about that, but that's my personal opinion. Just want to put that in. Yeah.
Thank you for that. It's funny because, and this is not a justification, but when you talk about culturally and the nature versus nurture, right? Yeah. So where I grew up, and it wasn't Cuban or Dominican specific, but in my neighborhood, it was only Mexican and Black. That's it. So like my first song I learned in school was Las Mañanitas. You know what I'm saying? So like I learned like special like dances and customs and folklorico in school. And so like when I got to my junior high, because again, the whole area was predominantly, again, Black and Mexican, like we taught my art class completely in Spanish. So I have a connection deeper to the culture more than I've ever expressed, because that's never come up, you know what I mean, in conversations. But I'm so grateful that I did have that background, because then it meant so much more to me to make sure I was doing things right.
Yes.
And without having that connect. Yeah,
I agree with you. And I think that's one of the biggest, that is also, I think, one of the biggest differences is having a connection to the culture, that was something I had moments in Motown where I was like, I don't know if I belong here? I was hired, and this is a conversation I've had recently with friends. Oftentimes Latinos are hired as swings because they run the gamut of color. So you never quite know what they are, what they are. Hate that phrase.
And then in the Latin, we're all up in there. It's like okay.
Yeah. And even the struggles of casting in Aladdin, you know what I mean? I have a friend who is, she's Jewish, and she's a swing in Aladdin, and she's got extremely curly hair, and she's, again, hate the fact that these phrases are so ingrained in us, but a casting phrase, ethnically ambiguous. What do we do? What do we do with that? Mm-hmm. What do we do with that phraseology, that terminology? And what does it mean for us as well? I as well have been in Hairspray, and I never thought I'd be in a show. And people used to bring it up with me, like a question was posed, like, what side of the tracks would you be on? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't identify with the white side. I think I would be in the black side with that story, because even culturally and historically, like, I was born and raised in the Bronx, but thinking about my family and their experiences and fighting for civil liberties, of course, that's the side that we would be on, It's a really interesting conversation to have for, I think, people who are mixed race, and then all people of color, you know what I mean? Because we all have different backgrounds and look like so many, we all look so different, So it's how, when we talk about identity now and how we want to be identified, and I think especially when we're having conversations about casting, how are we identifying who a Latino is, who Latinos are, or who African Americans are, or who, people of Manasa background are, and are we doing that appropriately? Because I'm sure I assume, and it's not fair for me to assume, but I ask you ladies, have you ever experienced walking to a room and having someone comment on your background inappropriately, maybe? I know I have definitely been victim to that, where it's like, maybe I'm not Latin enough, maybe I'm too Latin, maybe I'm not this, maybe I'm not that, and it's an interesting question when we start to talk about diversity in the arts and how we want to change it, because of course optics are always a thing. So what do we do about that? I don't know.
That's a really good question. So I don't want to like talk so much.
I was gonna say, Miss Lily, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah.
Well, not necessarily, because when I walk into, especially like an audition or a casting room, I'm already, like, they already know who they were getting when I walked in. But I want to say probably the most where I experienced that was when I was living in Harlem with Alyssa, and I was walking down my block. And then I had this man, he's like, yo, what's this white girl doing on my block? And then I said, excuse me. And I was like, first of all, and I'm not an outspoken person. I'm really not. I don't do well with confrontation. But it had happened to me so many times already. And I had lived on that block for a few years at that point. And I turned around and I was like, first of all, I was like, I live on this block. I pay to live on this block. And second of all, I'm Latina. And I was like, have a good day. You know, and I was just like, and then they're like, oh, you know what I mean? And like doing whatever. But that was the most difficult to me then in New York, was like, I was never Latin enough, it seemed, in New York. And then when they found out I was Mexican, I was like on a lower totem than where other Latinos were considered to be. And it was it's something I never experienced before, just being from Arizona. It was more, not too Latin. It was like too not, I don't know if I'm allowed to say, too not Mormon. That's
say it.
Mama, I was a teenager in Utah, so I'm about to jump in on this in a second, but go ahead.
That's the biggest that I grew up with, was more like when I was a kid, and then putting that on top of then being one of the few Mexicans who were there. And especially like once, if they weren't sure, because that was another thing too that I would get for not being Latin enough, just like, well, you're white passing, so you're fine, you know. And it's just like, and then they see my mom and they see the other people in my family, and they're darker, and then that would bring up a different bias, like to layer on top of that I wasn't one of the Mormon kids. And yeah, so that's more the experience that I've had. I'm either like a lot not Latin enough as I got older, and then not Mormon / white enough when I was younger.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look at this skin. Okay, she's real fair. She's super fair. But like, you know, people saw my hair and the shape of my face and la la la. And when I was in Utah, it was like, this one is trying to pretend to be one of us, and that was not. You know, I'm just living my life being who I am. And so there was always an otherness of like, you're not white. You look like you might be white, but you're not white. Or maybe you're part white, or, you know, whatever. So there was always an otherness there. And I actually had the reverse experience where the majority of the Latina community in Utah is Mexican, and there's almost no Puerto Ricans and Cubans. And so in my junior high and high school, that was the highest tier, right, of Latina people were the Mexican kids, and they wanted nothing to do with me because I was not what they considered Latina enough. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I was born and raised in Puerto Rico. I just got here. What is happening? You know. And so, but like that whole idea of passing, right? Like when I realized that community, that the Latina community was not opening up to me the way that I wanted, and then I was surrounded by Mormon kids who also wanted nothing to do with me. I was like, I got to do something, because I am all alone. And I was getting beat up, and I was getting things thrown at me, and you know, like it was a horrible few first years in Utah and you just start to assimilate, right? You're like, be less loud, be less proud, be less, you know, I'm gonna cry. You know, and like straightening my hair every 6 months chemically to like make sure that it wasn't, you know, giving me away, or like, you know what I mean? Like it's like a whole thing. She went too deep. And so like I feel you there. And to go into, you know, when I first started acting specifically in film, so when I moved to Chicago 8 years ago, wow, 8 years ago.
Yeah.
It was like a whole thing where like, oh, she's ethnically ambiguous. right? And I was like, when did I become ambiguous? I could have sworn that my mommy was Puerto Rican and my daddy was Puerto Rican and my grandma and my grandpa was Puerto Rican and my grandma and grandpa on the other side is Puerto Rican. In fact, this one over here, she real indigenous looking. Like, I could have sworn that I was Puerto Rican. And like, it's always been very confusing because everybody thinks they know what you should look like, right?
Yeah.
Everybody thinks they know. And everybody thinks they know that if you look like Chanel, that you are a Black person, right? Like, period. But there are different colors and shades, and these people are from different places. They just think they know. You don't know.
Yeah.
And we gotta, how do we break those ideas of what people look like? You know what I mean? You know, like, I am more than this that you see and that you have in your brain. I am more than this.
Yes. And of course, then we're here having this conversation, and like, I hate to bring this up, but I will, since I feel like this is a good group of women to have this conversation with, because we can all be honest, and like, every guest has been honest, but like, I feel like there's a particular way this conversation can go here, and I love that. And we're talking about, of course, this ability to break these barriers of how people look. And I want to also acknowledge that there are lots of people out there who are changing their names, because we know this and we preach this, that we look like everything, like everyone. And now people are starting to take advantage of that and change their names to sound more ethnic. So yeah, there's so many interesting and confusing factors, I feel like, that need to be confronted. And I don't even know how to begin confronting them. You know what I mean? I wonder,
and this also bringing in the idea of what you see, bringing in people's ideas of gender, right? Like, I am more than what you see or what you think you see, or the way that you put it in your brain that of what I am. Yes. I am what I say I am. You know what I mean? I am what I feel I am. I am what and you don't get to decide what those things are. Right. So it's it's a thing in our careers in the theater community that includes so many. It's very intersectional. Is that the word? Where you're just like, this all of these people, all of these, racially, culturally, gender, all those things are like, you don't get to decide. And so you got to open up your brain, and just like these casting people have to open up their brain and see something from a different light, or allow themselves to not see what they think they see. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
100%.
I'm going to reel us real quick, because I'm watching the timer. I'm doing real good. Okay, I'm going to reel us. So, ladies, you have been quarantining in Arizona. How has the quarantine been for you? And and piggybacking on that, have the arts helped you during this time? Have you had to step away from the arts a little bit? Like, I mean, at this point, we've been quarantining for how long? 4 months? Since March.
4 months.
It's July.
Oh,
so
my God. Yeah.
July. I mean, by the time this comes out, it'll be end of July. So, yeah, so 4 months. How has it been quarantining? I think both of you are quarantining with partners, I think.
He's back here.
I know, I keep watching him go past. And how has it been? And have the arts helped you? Have you had to step away from the arts? What has it been going on? Lily, you go first.
I go first. All right. It's been, I have to be a little more extra careful than a little extra careful than most people, just because I help take care of my dad. He's terminally ill, and we have caregivers in hospice, but I like to go over there and be able to help out my mom, because we don't have them every day, So I just have to be extra careful about, like, even when I'm going, like, always wearing my mask, always wearing gloves. Like, before in Arizona, they're just like, as you've seen on the news, we're not doing great with being vigilant about doing that. So a little more recently, so people are being a little more cognizant of that now. But before, when it first started, I was one of the few people who was doing that every day if I had to go to the grocery store, and then still, like, you know, you see people on social media who are still going out and still all seeing everybody. And I just like, I can't do that. And I don't, you know, and it's hard because you don't want to be mean to somebody when they're like, well, like, we're going to hang out and we're going to, you know, go do this, or we're going to try and, you know, make some kind of plan, or just like, I don't want to be like uptight here, but like, you know, and that's been, that was frustrating in the beginning. Cause some people are just like, well, I'm fine. So I feel like, he was just like, I feel like everybody else should be fine. And then I don't want to like be like somebody who's like whining in the background, you know, just like, well, he was like, I need to be a little more careful, and let me, you know, tell my story on that. I think I've stepped more into the arts in a different way with all of this, as theaters have closed down and like all my contracts got canceled / postponed, you know. That was awful. And I just remember crying and feeling like I didn't realize how much of my, not just my professional side, but like how much I personally was so invested in what I did in theater. I had no idea until it was taken away. And I'm still even struggling with that, trying to figure out, like, I don't know, because it wasn't just a hobby for me, and it wasn't just my career. It's just so much a part of me, and I didn't realize.
It was the air you breathe, right?
And I didn't realize it until I didn't have it anymore. And that's going to make me emotional. I was talking to my friend Kate about that yesterday, and I just like, it might sound so silly, because then I had a different friend. They were just like, well, tell me, I was like, well, like, just find something else that you love. And then I was like, but it's not like, not there aren't other things I don't love to do, you know. I was like, but it's just like that. It's just like this euphoria for me. And there's like this place of bliss and independence, even just like from going into your dressing room and doing your makeup and whatever routine that is, you know. I didn't realize how much I depended on it and how much it was like woven within me until I didn't have it. But artistically, I've been working with this company, Bragg Pro Entertainment, and we've been able to put on some shows here and there. We are doing Girl Power, and then now, like, living with my partner, we are working on a Latina concert show through Bragg Pro Entertainment, and it's going to be music of Gloria and Selena and Shakira and Jennifer Lopez, and that I am super excited for.
You said Gloria, and my whole heart went, ah!
So we've been working on that. So I've been finding different ways to still be working artistically, but it's in a very different sense, especially trying to do everything virtually, which, like, Lord help me, I am not like very technologically savvy. You know, even now, just getting on the Zoom calls, I had to do it from my phone, which I don't usually do, and I'm, what is happening?
Okay, you nailed it.
Yeah. So then to like wrap up with that, well, like living with my partner, what's really cool is we've been able to like work on things together, as well as just like be hanging out together. And what's lucky is like I haven't got like, I'm not sick of him, you know, which could like, that could be thing. It's just like I see your face all day, every day, you know. But it's lucky. He's my best friend, you know, and so it's just we're having a good time just hanging out. And I met him the third time I did In the Heights. He was our choreographer, and he was, I don't remember what track was that.
He played the guy in the club,
Jose,
that got in the fight.
He was the
Jose
track.
Yes.
Yeah. But we didn't get together until 2 years later, but that's how we met.
Yes.
what about you, Miss Chanel? How's quarantine?
Oh, girl. Quarantine has had some of the highest highs and the lowest lows of my life. Highest highs, I was named Associate Artistic Director of Arizona Theater Company. And today's my first day. So I told my boss to call me at 11. So thank you, Sean. for letting me reschedule our meeting at 11. No, I've been so grateful. It's something I didn't expect. I had been I made a vision board. I have to tell you, I made a vision board when I was doing cabaret back in January.
Yes, visualize.
And I was like, right? And I was like, we need to be on the other side of the table. I can't keep talking about it. I got to be about it. And I was like, okay, so how do I get there? There's not a degree you can go to be an AAD or an AD. And so I was like, but I have a master's degree in leadership. Like I started like thinking like, okay, I've been doing theater for like a million years. And then I'm like, okay, I've produced. Okay, I've directed. So then I was like, well, then what else do I need to glean? I was like an apprenticeship. Like I need to just get somebody to let me shadow them. Yeah. So I can try to connect all these skills that I have and make them mean something. Yeah. And so I reached out to him back last November and was like, hey, can I shadow you? And I'm sure he was like, who is this chick? so he like, not that he ignored it. Like he totally was like,
phone, who this?
Right? He was like, oh, okay. You know, cool. But then, like, I will say, though, he must have took that into consideration because then it was like, hey, Chanel, do you know someone who could do this? Or do you know someone who can do that? And so I felt like I was being utilized kind of like as far as a community outreach. And I'm from here. I'm local. I'm very well connected. So I was like, yeah, sure. And so then I did a couple of events for them. And so I just wanted him to know that I had a stake in the organization. Yeah. But mainly because I have a stake in all organizations in Arizona, because it matters to me that we have a place for people of color to reside. Yes. And more than ever, if I can put my foot in the door and then drag 30,000 people with me, then I want to do that. So I was grateful. That he allowed me to even be in his space. But then he announced on his, we have a talk show called Hang and Focus. And a couple weeks ago, he said, I want to be about it, not just talk about it. I'm going to create an apprentice option, primarily for someone that's BIPOC, right? Yeah. Girl, I slid into that. Hey!
She said, did you call my name?
Did you say Chanel? So I literally said, remember how I want to apprentice you? So when the application comes up, let a sister know. Basically was all I said, y'all. Tell me God is not good. That conversation, a week later, he called me and offered me the job. And I said, what? I said, apprentice. He said, no, the associate artistic director position. And I said, God better do it. Yes. He better do it. So I was like, that's amazing. But of course, now I'm like, I want to make the ancestors proud. And I want to make my community proud. And so I am grateful for the opportunity. I am scared. I'm not going to act like I have it all calm and collected because I do not. But he's a beautiful mentor already. Already he's teaching me things, and I'm just so grateful. So that's the high part. Then, of course, as a Black woman in America, y'all know what's up. I don't even know how to transition this from something so happy to something so devastating. But I just feel like we're being exterminated. Yeah. It's an awful way to feel, but that's how it feels. And so it isn't even just like racism, right? COVID-19 is taking Black people out 2.4 times the rate. That's scary. It's like, even with the like healthcare inequities that are going on. So we are dying. So like of all these death tolls you're seeing, when you see those national numbers of 100,000 plus people are dying, majority of them are Black people. And that, so trying to navigate, and I'm high risk and I'm a cancer survivor. So I'm just kind of like been inside. So that's how my quarantine has been. It's like literally scared to death to go outside.
Literally scared to death of dying.
Scared to death of dying. Like I'm an severe asthmatic. I got one kidney. Like I'm just like, I just don't want to put myself at risk. And so my partner is white. And so he has been navigating this with me in a very different way too, trying to make sure that he's supporting his Black partner that is going through an atrocity right now that's happening to her community. And when I tell y'all, he's been so great, like for real, because he's not trying to appropriate or do anything. He's just trying to uplift me and hold me, which is something that I didn't even know he would be that good at until we were in quarantine. And so I'm grateful. I'm grateful for my partner as well, as Lily, because without that support, I would have been crumbling. I did not handle George. Well, I didn't handle anybody's death well. Let's be honest. Anytime we have that, I say, I got to call in Black today. Yeah. And my man is like, okay, I got you. And that's when I'm like, I can't talk to nobody. I'm trying to grieve. Mm-hmm. And so I think it was a matter of, it was so many in close proximity. Yeah. And then George Floyd was just like the straw that broke the camels. But then even since he's died, since he has passed, there's 120 plus people that have been murdered since then. Yes. And some at the hands of police brutality, some at the hands of racist supremacists, some at the hands of who names it, right? Like, COVID.
We just got the word about Vanessa Guillen.
Like, oh my God, right?
A soldier, part of our military, as well.
Like, is there no sacred, like, there was a flyer that was going out that said, kill a Black on sight in Tempe, Arizona.
What?
That's where we at. Like, this world is on some other right now. And so trying to navigate those things and then feeling all of them because of the seclusion of COVID has been hard. My body has been through some stuff. Like, my blood pressure was high. I had a ringing in my ear that would not stop for like 10 days straight. I wasn't sleep. I'm still not really sleeping, but I wasn't sleeping like at all, like full on, maybe 2 hours, and then go for 48 hours and maybe sleep 3. And I was like, I cannot continue like this. So it's been a real like struggle of like forcing myself to, even if I can't make my mind stop racing, just at least lay down for 8 hours so my body is rested, even if my brain isn't. Mm-hmm. So yeah, COVID has been, I don't want to romanticize it because it hasn't been cute. But I will say, I do think it's important for us to focus on the good, because it's real easy to focus on all the bad. And I had a wine cocktail Zoom with my girlfriends from college. And y'all, we're so crazy. We went to Target and got 3 different wines from Sutter Homes, and one girl's in San Francisco and one girl's in DC, and me. And we did we read the little label, notes of grapefruit or whatever's in wine, not grapefruit. But we had a wine tasting moment. And those are the things that are my highlights during COVID. It's discussions like this with my sisters. Like, I'm so grateful to be on this call with y'all because it's giving me enough sustainability, but to go another couple of days in this COVID nightmare and feel like a little bit more energized because I'm having these beautiful conversations with powerful women. It's important. So the relationships you choose to keep around you and the ones that are for you and good for you, those are the highlights of COVID for me, for sure.
Again, I'm going to reel us. Okay. Because I know that you have a meeting that technically you're 2 minutes late for right now. Okay.
Okay. I know. I was looking to
I was like, you said, did you say 11?
Hold on, let me see. And then I'll call you. When he calls me, then I'm gonna have to get off the phone.
Okay, then really quick before he calls, I'm gonna ask you, do you have any groups, any theaters and organizations that you want to shine a light on? We will post them. They will be linked underneath and on Insta on the sides. Tell us all about it so that people know where to go, where to look, where to support, where to donate. Is there any place that you would like to talk about?
Start with Chanel, just in case you have to.
I got a ton. So Black Lives Matter, obviously. Yes. For in terms of children being assisted, free arts for abused children. I do a summer camp with them, and I love these kids. These kids are group home, homelessness, juvenile detention, you name it. Their situations are devastating, and we provide a camp for them where they get to learn and grow and get to express healing from their pain through art. And so they're an amazing organization I've worked with for the last 5 years. Reframe Phoenix is another beautiful organization that it helps young people really take charge, and they have like leaderships within their charity where they're like, the adults are more like accomplices and the kids are kind of really running things. And it's really good to break down this systemic idea of like children are like not strong or can't, be independent. And so I love that organization. And then of course the local theaters that we have here, Teatro Bravo is fantastic. They are doing all Latinx work, which is extremely important. And the Black Theater Troupe. Those are two smaller companies that could really use a lot of support.
Thank you. Thank you for all those.
Yeah.
We'll definitely provide links. We'll have links on Instagram, links on Facebook as well. Yes, you're amazing, Lily.
Trying to think what Chanel didn't already.
I know. I'm sorry. I know I probably took them off.
Mama, you speak so much more eloquently than I do. I was like, I'm so glad she's going first. ACLU.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as theater, I'll give shout out to Phoenix Theater Company, because that's my home theater. That's how I live, literally. I think those are the two that,
Yes.
aside from what Chanel's already said.
Fabulous.
Well, and Arizona Theater Company too. We needed to. Let me also secure my job. I'm kidding.
You definitely have to shout them out.
Wait.
I just think all theater needs support right now, like especially right now. Even our well-off theaters are on those small business loans and on the second rung of them, so they all need help. For sure.
I loved that thing that people were posting all over the place. Hamilton came out on Friday and everybody's watching it, and I kept seeing that thing that was like, I'm so glad that you get to see this, but I want you to think about the fact that these people on stage, the people backstage, the people that run this theater, all of them are out of a job. And let's be real, mi gente, all of them are out of a job probably until we find a vaccine.
Right.
And that is, that's the part that kills me, because I'm sitting here going, like, I'm like you, Lily. I had things lined up. I should have had a job right now. And I have things lined up for the fall. And all things have either been canceled altogether or pushed. And the earliest that one of my jobs is lined up for is October, and I don't think that's going to happen. You know what I mean? Not with the way that things are going, not with the numbers going up. And we cannot work. So please, 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 please support artists. Please, if you see that petition that's asking the government to give us the support that we need, please sign it. Because we're doing this podcast. We don't get paid for this. This is what we're doing to shine some lights on things in order to feel like we're doing something artistically. Just please, please, please support. And if you I'm talking too much. If you know people who don't know about that, talk to your parents, tell them, look, artists right now are suffering. They can't do, theater artists, performing artists can't do this stuff. And we are we live paycheck to paycheck mostly. I know people think, oh, they're actors. Yeah, we are not, we are not Meryl Streep.
Preach on it.
Okay, we are not Meryl Streep. We are living paycheck to paycheck, and now we are lining up those jobs. Usually, that's what we're doing all the time: hustle, hustle, hustle to line up those jobs. And we cannot do that right now. We cannot do it.
And for those politicians and government officials out there, what do you do when you go home and you want to decompress?
Right?
Do you listen to music? Do you watch your favorite TV show?
Mm-hmm.
Do you read something? Do you read a book? Guess what? Those are all artists. And they're all living paycheck to paycheck. What do you do with your kids? Do you watch a movie with them? Do you watch a cartoon with them? Every single thing that so many people in the world do to decompress is all provided by artists. And guess what, y'all? You think that we're not necessary. If you think we're not necessary, see how you feel when you don't have a way to let your hair loose and decompress.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
That's real.
People need to look at themselves and see what they're doing when they come home from work.
Hello.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right. Ladies, I know. We went in. I liked this episode.
I wish we had another hour. I'm like, I wish we had another hour.
Because that's the thing. Like, we're trying to limit ourselves to an hour. Right now, we're at 50 minutes. We're doing real good. We're trying to limit ourselves to an hour, and it's hard because these are big topics that we're talking about. So we only really get to like touch on them for a second. And I don't know that we come up with any solutions, but you know, hopefully somebody's watching this and they get an idea and they're like, I know, and they put that into action. So I hope that that is the case. That having been said, ladies, it's been such a pleasure.
I love you.
Thank you so much for coming on Café Con Leche.
These connections. I'm so
I
glad.
know, right? There's a special something that happens between a Daniela and a Carla, right? I want to say that before we go, because I've gotten to play Carla and I've gotten to play Daniela, and both times, you know, your counterpart, that's your girl, and that's your girl forever.
And Vanessa.
And Vanessa.
Your Vanessa forever. The salon ladies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The salon ladies are
a unit.
A sisterhood. And it's very interesting how quickly that unit becomes solid. That unit is like, this is my girl, and there is nothing you can do to separate me. Like, even in life, when we would go out, and Alyssa, there was a situation, which I'm not going to get into, where we were denied entry to a place when these Latinas came rolling up. And Alyssa was like, I would like to speak with your manager. And I was high off my ass, but I took my place on the right side, just behind her right shoulder, to be like, go ahead, talk to my girl, like, with disrespect. Go ahead. Go ahead. I dare you.
Oh my God. We got to have each other's back. Lily already knows. I'm pulling up if she ever calls.
Damn.
You know that.
And I've called when she pulls up.
Yo. Real.
Pull up for each other, you know what I'm saying?
Girl.
Ladies, thank you so much for coming.
I love you guys so much. This is so great.
Thank you all for tuning in. And I hope you always have your café exactly the way you like it. Bye.
Ow.
See you soon.